I think the successful college application for any college, from the number one college to the number 1000 college, hinges on one thing and one thing only. Hello, namaste, Zarna Garg here with the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. So excited to have all five Gargs in the house today. Let me get right into it. This topic is so riveting. You're not going to want to miss it. Let me get right into it. My youngest, my middle schooler, my son, Veer Garg. My middle son, freshman in college, Bridge Garg. My daughter, who's a senior in college, Zoya Garg. And my husband of 25 years, Wall Street veteran, Shalab Garg. We're all in the house. And today we're going to talk about college admissions in America. How do you get in? What are the things that got you, Zoya, and Bridge in? What are the activities that matter? What are the things that no one cares about? What are the things that are overrated within the Indian community? What are the things that are the secret hidden gems? Who has a strong opinion on this and who wants to get us started?
Okay, well, to be honest, I don't know anything about this because I'm like not related to this, but from what I've heard, it's good to do things that aren't typically associated with your gender. So, for example, like if bio was to play basketball or football or something that like a lot of boys have done versus taking a class in, I don't know, something that, what did you do what is one of your extra?
Me?
Yeah.
When it comes to, I think what you're talking about is niches. I think it's a good word to define in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
Is one thing, what he's basically saying is do stuff that's outside of the normal niche. Many boys.
Let me actually amend that, Veer. I think what you mean, as a father who himself went to a great college and a father of two sons and one daughter, of which two are already going to great colleges, what I have noticed to be unique is that you have to be passionate about one thing and take that passion to the nth degree to prove that passion. That passion can be anything. That passion can be farming for all I care, or politics, or music, or anything. But it cannot be that I'm passionate about politics, but my evidence towards that passion is that I watched, the political speeches. Right? It has to be like all the way to the end. High school.
I agree. I one thing that I find in the people that I feel have really strong applications is to do a huge volume of work to prove your credibility in whatever statement you're making. Ultimately, when you apply to a college, you're making a statement about these are the people and characteristics that I am. Here are the verbs and pieces of evidence I can give you to prove that those things are true. So, for example, if you're making the statement, I am a leader, what is the evidence of your leadership? The evidence doesn't have to be that you're the captain of the most popular team in school, which I feel is a very common pitfall that people fall into. For example, a lot of kids in my school were obsessed with being leadership in the Model UN and debate team because that was like the most nationally.
That's such a stray.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Can you just let me finish? At my high school specifically, the biggest club in my high school was the debate team. And it was nationally ranked. It was well recognized. And so a lot of people chose to do debate just because they thought being a leader of the debate team was evidence that they were the best leaders. But that's not necessarily true. I was the president of a 6-person Latin club. It was literally 6 members in the club. But I did so much work to prove my leadership. I did so many competitions. I created a Coliseum gingerbread competition that was annually recognized. I created masks that people would make for every March for Mardi Gras that was Roman and Greek inspired masks, and the school would participate. So I proved that I was a leader, even though leadership wasn't defined in the context of what's the most popular team. That's the point.
Also, just to speak on both Didi and my dad's point, just to make something clear, what me and my brother were kind of laughing about when my sister was talking is I was the leader of my Model UN team, but I did not join Model UN just to get into college. Actually, when I joined Model UN, I had no idea at all I was going to list that even on my, I thought that was just like some random thing I was doing just for fun. The reason why I joined is because actually there was a girl who invited me and I had a crush on her. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go. Like that was actually the true reason why I ended up going to Model UN in the first place. And then once I was already there, I realized how much I love it and how much fun it was. So it wasn't that I was trying to get into college with it. It's just that I really, really liked it. And because of that, in the first place, I was offered the leadership position. I would not have been offered the leadership position if I was only doing it for college, especially with the teacher I had. He was very, very like he saw through that a lot. He saw through everyone who's just doing it for college. And I'm very passionate about it. I became a leader, and then I put it on my college app, of course, because even though it might not necessarily be the best thing, as my sister was talking about, it definitely is. It does show that I cared about it and I was passionate about it.
Again, to add to that, if I met another Indian boy who's passionate about mathematics and good at math and the best at math at school, and then when you ask that Indian boy, okay, great that you're good at math, what have you done to prove that passion for mathematics? And the answer comes back, oh, I took the advanced AP course in calculus in high school, and that's literally the extent of passion about mathematics. I mean, that's not going to fly, right? If you're passionate about mathematics, you better have participated in, competition of mathematics, at least at the statewide level or at least the city level, to prove beyond just your own protected little school.
What have you done outside of school? What have you done? What have you done that no one else was going to give to you at any point, that you had to go to and actively seek it out yourself, go to a place or go on a Zoom or do whatever, and then participate and then do the whole process, even hate it at some point and still complete it?
You don't have to succeed at all of it. You don't have to prove that you were the best at it. But at least to prove that passion, you went outside the confines of your home and the resources that your parents made available to you to prove that passion, whether it's mathematics or science or music or whatever else it may be.
I think also I think people really overthink the college process and really undervalue the power of just showing up. Like, what are those places that you really consistently showed up to? And what was the impact in the community that you made by doing that? And were you consistent at it? So I think one example of this was there was a local golf course near my school at Bronx Science. It was extraordinarily run down. One of the holes they had to remove because there was just no course even there. It was not a fancy golf course by any means. In fact, the opposite. But I had grown this interest for golf when I was in high school because I thought it would be this interesting sport, and I loved the science of it. I loved the math of it. I loved the strategy. So I just kind of fell in love with golf. And I would show up to this golf course. I was not the best at golf in the country. I was not the best at golf in the state. I just kept showing up and playing golf with really interesting kids in the Bronx. And ultimately, I realized there was so much impact I could make in that community.
It was also a 2-3 hour commute there and back.
Yeah, it was a very difficult commute. It was in the heart of like a not so great area. A lot of the students I was working with were not very proficient in math and in English. I ended up tutoring a lot of them in between golf lessons. Then I started to teach golf. Then I volunteered during the COVID-19 pandemic as an essential worker because a lot of the kids would use that outdoor area as an opportunity to gather in a safe way. So many things spun out. But the initial basis of it, like Bridge said, was I just showed up once and I fell in love with it and I kept running with it. It wasn't like I had some grand plan. Oh, I'm going to be the best golf player in the world and I'm going to prove evidence of it. No, I found one place, I showed up, and I kept showing up for 4 years. And I still show up.
You're kind of pointing to a traditional weakness within the Indian community. I'll tell you, if we talk to one more parent whose son or daughter is a genius at researching in their room, who studies all day, who has a perfect SAT, everything that they can sit in their room and do while their mom or their dad is giving them hot tea and caressing their back and rubbing their back and saying, oh, son, we know you're a genius, and constantly reminding him, we do that. Like, we are the spokespeople for that life. And that is so over. Honestly, what Elon Musk calls the laptop class is dead and dying. People need to get out into the real world, roll up their sleeves and fix real problems. Like, everybody and their mother that I know can do a research because their mom called some teacher they knew somewhere and get them started. Nobody needs, at some point, you're done doing research. At some point, you got to get out into the real world, look at people in the eye, and like deal with real problems. I think the successful college application for any college, from the number one college to the number 1,000 college, hinges on one thing and one thing only: What can you do about all the problems in this world? Pick one problem, however tiny it is, and do something about it. Just
And
do
it's not,
anything.
and it's not, oh my God, I saw so many privileged kids doing this. It actually unnerves me. And there are problems in Africa. There are lots of problems in countries outside of this one. But you going on some summer retreat to build water contraptions is so virtue signaling, and it's so obvious that you didn't actually care about that. You just went for a contained period of time to do this thing, and you just write about it with so much passion. If you really cared about making impact in your community, there are 1,000 problems in every city, in every town, and in every school that you can go attack and solve every day.
Right.
You don't have to go travel
for
somewhere
example,
to do
I met
it.
this white kid from Memphis at Zoya's college, and his claim to fame and why he was there is because his dad is a farmer, and he created this amazing way to deliver crop from the village that he was in to the city and reduce the cost of delivery by 15%. Now, would you take, people who are reading these applications are basically people like you and me. And would you take that kid or a kid in New York City whose claim to fame is the way that Zoya is describing? I mean, I would take the kid from Memphis all day long.
Or, for example, and I think this is the real point too, it's not about being number one on some national ranking. It's not about having 1 million followers on the TikTok that you started, right? I had a friend who did a podcast, and he just consistently made podcast episodes about various topics that high school students were interested in. He maybe had a couple thousand followers, but he built it over 4 years, and he got into Stanford. It wasn't like he had some huge podcast that was bought by Joe Rogan and had all these fancy guests. It was none of that. He just showed impact, and he showed commitment, and he showed he was willing to put himself out there, which is something that, as Mom said, our generation of kids is not willing to do.
Yeah, and it is the defining change. I mean, honestly, Indian kids in particular need to stop bragging about their grades and their perfect scores. That's kind of a given, because the community that we value academia, we sit and we study all day. But and as a community, we really don't do enough community service for real. Not a fake foundation, not piggybacking on your mom's best friends, whatever. Actually roll up your sleeves in wherever you are, in America, in India. There are problems everywhere. Just pick one and solve it. Just pick
More than
a
anything
tiny
else, you want interesting kids that are passionate, kids that are interesting, kids that care, kids that are passionate about something and prove that passion, as opposed to one more 760 SAT and one more valedictorian, and then beyond that, nothing, right?
But
it just doesn't work.
But one thing that I will say to your point, which is very similar to the point that Bridge made and the point that Veer made earliest in this episode, is passionate, interesting kids comes from doing things that you're actually just gravitated towards. The best thing you can do your freshman and your sophomore year is try everything. Try everything, go meet everybody, see what the clubs are available, and then actually stick with the ones that make you excited to be there, right? Like, for example, I actually did debate at my school for a year, and I quit the team at the end of my freshman year. Everybody trolled me. They were like, not in a bad way, like, oh my God, but like, they were just like, Zoya, like, this is the best team in the United States. This debate team, which is true, at my school, it's the best team in the world. People are like, this is your ticket to get into whatever college you want. How could you possibly quit this and focus on Latin, flag football, golf, all these things that are so random and we're not recognized as a school for? I just wasn't interested in it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't really jive with a lot of the kids that were in that team. I just enjoyed the things that I enjoyed, and I did them with a lot of integrity.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Was the reason you started Latin to get into college? Or was it just... was the reason you quit debate to start Latin?
No. So, okay, I had a huge Latin interest. I'm still obsessed with Rome and Greece. If you've watched our podcast, I make references all the time. And I actually, at Stanford, am a classics major as well as a computer science major. That is work that I've done over the past 4 years to get that degree. I took Latin in middle school. I kept taking Latin at Bronx Science, my high school. And I just loved how small the community was. I loved how intellectually interesting the conversations were. And I loved my teachers. And I just kept going to the club, meeting students that were also interested in it, building all these interesting things around Latin. And I was naturally pretty good at it because it was like this grammar puzzle. I always liked puzzles. It had nothing to do with getting into college that I did it. I honestly just really liked it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be majoring in it at Stanford. So I think following your passions is so important, and doing everything you can to find them early on in your high school journey is super helpful.
Now, of course, Zarna thinks that colleges are overrated. I don't think that. I think that
I agree.
Every kid should aspire to go to the absolute. I'm a big brand name person, so I don't want to sort of not make the point, as a public service message, that it matters to go to a top college. Ivy League matters, top names matter. It gives you a great start in life. I'm sort of diverting the conversation a little bit to the concept of college itself, only because I know your mother will have things to say about it. Our own kids, I'm really proud of them for the 2 of the 3 to already be going to top colleges. And I think every kid should aspire to go to the absolute top. What is the point of paying $75,000 tuition for a no-name college? If you're going to pay that kind of tuition, you want to pay for.
I agree with that. Hold on, we'll come back to you in 1 minute. I agree with that. First of all, I don't think college is essential anymore, but I do think it serves a purpose. So, and you should try to get into the best college you can without losing your mind. Both our kids got in early to the number one college that they wanted to get into. I am not for begging and pleading every college in America and please take me. Those days are gone. Make your case. Make the most persuasive case you can and see where the chips fall. That's how I see it. And I do think that people ask me all the time that I make fun of college, but our kids go to Ivy League colleges and all of that. Well, Stanford's our Ivy League. But I believe you should go where you feel like you're a good fit and you're welcome. Both our kids went to their early decision number one choices. The fit was right. The case they made sense. They got in, they went. I disagree with the parents who live in fear their whole lives for their kids and beg and plead and will do anything and make 10 friends and family write letters begging and pleading to get it. I think those days existed 10, 15 years ago. They're long past. You don't need it anymore. If you're willing to work hard, you're going to do well no matter where you are. And I'm living proof of it. I didn't go to a fancy college and I turned out just fine. But Veer, what were you saying?
Dad, if Baya and Didi had gone to that, like colleges, like community college or something, where you get in automatically, I'm pretty sure that might be wrong, but where it's not as difficult, the acceptance rates are higher, would you have lost faith in them?
No, I don't think my kids, they could be criminals going to jail and I would not lose faith in them because they are good kids. And, and plus, Veer, part of it is when you lose faith in your kids, at some level, you're losing faith in yourself, right? Because you're the one that raised them. So it's, as a parent, really hard to truly lose faith in your kid. This is the one relationship where you have unlimited capacity to have faith, because at some level, it's like having faith in yourself.
One thing that Dad said to me really early on because I was so stressed. I mean, that's one thing I want to address in this episode. I was so stressed I'm still like definitely extremely anxious. Like I high performing anxiety is pretty much my entire brand. Like Dad was like, how are you doing? And I was just like, oh yeah, I woke up crying because I was stressed that I failed in my dream. Like I literally am just that kid. I knew freshman year, I wanted to get into a good college. I did everything I could. I had the grades. I built relationships with teachers. I didn't do all of that because I was trying to play some game, but I was just doing everything. And I think one thing that Dad said that really stuck with me was, I don't care if you get in. I just care that you made the effort to put the best version of yourself on the paper. And I think that truth has remained true throughout my early adult days. As long as you're doing your best work, the result will manifest in some way or another. It's like somebody who's very smart always says, the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, I did say that. It's true.
You didn't say the quote. The quote was somebody else maybe in this room. But
okay.
Wait, who said it? Was it me?
No, it was Mom.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, as did Bridge. Bridge put in his effort. I thought the farming thing that he did downtown, or the political work he did with Suraj Patel through his 2 campaigns, to manage their social media. I think these were unique, interesting things that give back to the community in a natural way, as opposed to just come up with just random stories that literally a 3-year-old can see through it in 30 seconds. And again, I think those are the things that matter.
Or, for example, I did a pageant because mom and I have this tradition. We definitely dare each other to do hard things. It's like our favorite thing to do. And when I was 16, she submitted me to a beauty pageant, the Miss Teen New York beauty pageant, without telling me. And all of a sudden, I got a call from this beauty pageant lady, like, we'd like to interview you for the Miss Teen New York. And I just started answering questions, and boom, I did the competition. I finished as a semifinalist. I was actually, like, I think the shortest semifinalist in all of pageant history. If you look at the photos, it's like every tall girl and then like me right there. But I still made it. I didn't win. To
Top
clarify
20 out
again,
of 400, right?
top 20 out of 400. But again, I did not win. I was not the beauty pageant winner. But I showed in an essay, I talked about what it was like to be in a beauty pageant as a girl that honestly is pretty nerdy and very athletic and not that focused on beauty pageant ideals and experiences. And I think that was probably really interesting to them. I mean, I ended up having this whole feminist angle story to it because I just showed up and did something. I think just showing up and doing things. Bridge just showed up and helped Suraj Patel with his campaign. Veer will similarly, like, he just shows up and sells bottles of water. Just get out there and do things and take action. It's not that serious. There's no way to intellectualize it.
Agree. And just take a shot at some. Listen, take shots, fail, and then take the next shot. You can't take every shot like life and death. You just take shot, and then that becomes your story. All the shots you took.
And of course, wanting it, right? Both these kids and now Veer as well. And Veer is not in yet, but even before he's not in yet, I know he will go somewhere great because he wants it. You have to want it, right? It cannot be that, oh, my parents want it, I'm just going to go to this college to spend 4 years to have fun, right? That just won't work. You have to
And then
want it.
even if you get in, you're going to be miserable like that. Like, because you didn't want that experience and now you kind of signed up for it
And
because you got
all
pushed
these
into
tens of other thousands of kids wanted it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the colleges want to take someone who really wants it.
Bridge, what do you think helped you get into Cornell early? Like, in reflection.
Now that you're there, what do you find common amongst the other kids that you see and meet there?
I think track. Track really helped. Even though I didn't realize it in the moment, a lot of people at Cornell specifically, I don't know what it is at other universities, but at Cornell, track is just the major theme. Like half the kids there did track or ran track. I think when it comes to the type of person, I don't know. Honestly, this whole conversation, I've been like deciding, I can't tell whether I think how valuable college is or how valuable the process of getting into college to me was the most valuable part so far.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. That was the most like learning experience and putting yourself out there. But I also do think we live in an age and in an environment now where you can learn so much not in college. There's so many ways to learn what you need to learn without having to pay a large tuition or without having to go to a high brand name college. And I know so many smart students and so many smart kids who are going to colleges that you would never have heard the name of. And I also, so that's just my other thing. It's just, I wouldn't treat it. This is how my family did it, and I really like it. This thing is never treat it as if you need to go to Harvard or you need to go to Stanford, but just treat it as if you want to keep your options as open as possible, so that you can have the ability to feel confident about applying to anywhere you want to apply to. That's just how the mentality I would look at it was. And I think most people at Cornell specifically, or most of my friends, all thought of it in that similar way, where they felt like they built a package that would get them into at least one place that they wanted to go to.
I do think track is very popular. I kind of have a theory about it. A lot of boys apply with football or basketball because they're popular group sports, team sports. But track speaks to the type of person who's disciplined enough to do something on their own. Track is a very high individual responsibility sport, and that lends itself to leadership qualities in different ways. But I have a lot of guilt about it because I feel like you were very sad about not doing basketball at lab.
Yeah.
because
I
I
was.
kind of asked you to do track, and
Uh,
then I felt a lot of guilt.
that's
Well,
what's
it was-
making
it
me
was
like
fun.
question everything. Is I don't know if it was worth it. I just can't. I'm not deep enough into the college process, into my work life, where I sacrificed a lot to get into college, as did my sister, and as does everyone who goes to a top college or wants to go somewhere. You have to sacrifice a lot, and I have no idea whether the sacrifice is worth it. But all I know is I did sacrifice a lot of
What
things
did
that I
you
really love.
sacrifice?
Like I couldn't be part of the varsity basketball team, and the coaches even told me that I should have played, but I couldn't because I had to do track, which looked better for my college application. But it goes against the whole passion thing of doing what you're passionate about. Because I agree that there are, as much as I do agree that you need to be passionate about whatever your golden bullet is, but there are some things that you have to do to get into a good college that you might not be passionate about. You might hate an activity and still have to do it in order to get into college. And most
It's
people that I
true.
know did do something or multiple things, honestly, that they didn't enjoy, but specifically did it just to get into college. Like, for example, tutoring. A lot of people tutored when they didn't want to tutor or didn't want to go at 7:00. Like, Dee, you love tutoring, so it's different for you, but other people
I didn't
don't
even
like
put that
tutoring.
on my application, actually.
Yeah, but so I know some people did, and they didn't like doing it. There are a lot of things that you have to maneuver, and you just have to come to the conclusion, like, damn, like I do need to do this because it looks better for my college application.
But can I just pause for a minute? I recommended you do track not for your college application, but because I actually believe in the life skills that you get from being a runner. You already were playing a lot of basketball in real life with your friends. I didn't see the merit. If anything, I didn't see the merit in being a varsity basketball player at all, because it's not going to lead to professional sports, and it's not giving you the life skills. Being able to run, just run for fitness. All my friends who know how to run for fitness are running in middle age, are running in older age. Like, it is a
I
life
don't
skill
understand
that
that point. You
we
learn to run on basketball too. You run.
no,
I
just
burned
run
way
for
more
fitness.
calories.
It's
You're saying
not
just
burning
run
them.
for. You're just saying
Yeah.
you're basically saying run when it's boring.
Run and boring. Being able to tolerate the boredom and just do it for your body is a different skill. Basketball, all said and done, is a social activity.
Yeah, it
I have
is.
no doubt that you're going to have fun doing that.
Okay, so here's my point to you is that I 100% agree, but high school is the last time in your life where
Yes.
you're able to fully indulge in a sport or do something fun without basically worry free and just have fun doing it. Because
So,
even though I play a lot of basketball in college, I can't play nearly as much as I could in high school. I'm obviously not good enough to make a D1 team, or even the club team is very difficult to make. I probably wouldn't make that, but I'm not even gonna try out because I won't even have the time to play on it, even if I did make it. So it's just high school is the last time.
so
It is the
you're right.
last time.
You're right that you probably had less fun, but I was focused on my job, which is to prepare a son who's ready for the world. Like, your fun is like maybe number 5 on a list of priorities, if that. It's just not, because I have to focus on what boy am I putting out into the world. Is he capable of handling boredom? Is he capable of his own fitness? Is he capable of taking care of himself in a solo individual sport? Like, if I was worried about your fun, I probably wouldn't even raise you the way I raised you, to do like 3 grade levels ahead and everything.
I think mom's point on running is actually really well founded, in that a lot of my closest friends who are willing to do really hard things. Like, if you notice, some of the best engineers in the world are excellent runners. Like, all of the girls my age who are so good at coding, they run for miles and miles because they can sit with the boredom of code. And I think they can sit with the boredom of code because they learned how to run, which is a boring sport. So I actually do think mom has a good point there. I do agree with Bridge. One thing that I get asked a lot from high schoolers is, like, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you get into Stanford? Honestly, Bridge is right. You make a lot of sacrifices. And honestly, I would take all of those sacrifices again. I was not like Bridge. I didn't care about having fun. I think if you want to be successful, you have to always make sacrifices. There are going to be multiple parties you can't go to. You probably won't have that many friends. You probably won't be able to, like, drink and get all messed up so that you can't be productive the next day. You probably have to be really on top of your email and your text messages and every form of communication. I think, in fact, being okay and learning to accept the level of sacrifice that I had to make in high school in order to get into a place like Stanford is what has propelled me to continue to be okay with the sacrifices I have to make at Stanford, to hopefully build this family brand and hopefully a business of my own one day. And so I actually think the best piece of advice I can give a high schooler is don't get caught up in anything except for what your main mission in high school is, which is focus on being the best version of yourself and doing hard things. Because the moment that you learn that, nobody's going to be able to take that away from you as you continue early adulthood. So, yeah.
Veer, where do you want to go to college?
Man
such a
is
random question.
13.
I mean, come on.
He's literally 13.
I
Stop
know,
it.
but he's
No.
a serious kid.
He doesn't. He hasn't even researched it. That's the other issue with that question is most people, when you ask that when they're in high school, they haven't researched it yet. You only research what college you want to go to when you're a senior. When you're
Who
about
said
to be
I
a
want to go to
senior.
college? What if I don't want to go to college? What happens then?
That's a real possibility. I talked to mom a lot about that before I went to college, about not going to college, because I had met one of I had met someone who didn't go to college and had a very pretty successful life out of built up off of what he did. And I had also thought that, if what I realized is college was definitely the right decision for me, and I'll explain why. Is that if you don't want to go to college, you better have a really strong foundation and proven something that you want to work on instead of going to college. Don't not go to college just because you're saying, "Oh, I'll come up with something or I'll work on something." You need to have treated that then as your main mission instead of going to college. Let's say you're a streamer, you need to have treated streaming as your main. You need to have been streaming. However much I did track, however much I did Model UN, however much I went farming, however much my sister did Latin, however much my sister did golf. You need to have treated it just like that and put in that much effort to do it. Because I do find a lot of kids that I meet thinking about dropping out or not going to college, but they don't have anything that they've been working on. It's just it's such a fun concept to them, but you have to have something if you're going to. That's my piece of. I like this whole piece of advice thing. And my piece of advice is that if you don't want to be in college, college is not right for everybody. I'm still struggling with thinking if college is right for me because I've never been a school student who just likes to sit in classrooms and listen to teachers talk for 45 to an hour 15. But if you aren't going to be in college or you're going to drop out or you don't want to apply to college, you better have something, and please have something that just is so worth it and makes going to college such a waste of time. And remember also that you can learn. There are so many ways to learn now that aren't college. I learned Python, which is a coding language, completely by myself off Code Academy. It was great to learn it off there. It was a beautiful platform for me to learn it on.
I do think this dropout culture is crazy, and Bridge is making a point because it's like, have a plan. I'm not all for everybody should go to college, but I do think everybody should go to college, not for the degree and not for the education, for the socialization. I do think that there is something about meeting other people your age that are driven, that have similar passions and interests, that creating that core community, that only happens at a certain age.
Yeah.
As you get older, you're just not open to meeting that many different people. And
Are you
that
talking
to
about
me
finding a husband or a wife, or we're talking about friends?
I have met
both. Why not?
amazing people in college. I have some girlfriends that I genuinely believe will be friends of mine forever. And it totally happened because I was in the right place at the right time, meeting different people who are friends with one another.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable thing I did in my early 20s was my female friendships that I created. And so I think for that reason, going to college for the social part of it is really, really important.
I agree. And I think that and do it, but can you succeed without college? Of course. Today, I mean, these same very prestigious Ivy League colleges are giving out courses for free.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to look far. It's all out there. And thank God for it, because it's well needed for how much college costs. Do you guys ever get stressed out about the cost of college?
Oh my God. Every day. It stresses me out so much.
Yeah. I mean, that is the reality of the
But in
burden that college is.
your cases, we paid most of it out. So why does it stress you out?
It's not just that. First of all, when you go from a public school to a private institution, there is such a shift in the attitude toward your education entirely. Because at a public school, you can do everything because you just want to do it. At a private school, there are definitely strings attached in the sense that even if you're not paying your full amount, someone or many people are making a $500,000 investment on your behalf for 4 years. The gravity of that truth, $500,000, is so suffocating. It informs every decision that you make. And so I don't think that it's true, even if in the circumstances where everything was paid off for me or like lots of it was paid off, just that truth alone, I could not have graduated Stanford without a technical degree and felt good about myself. I just couldn't have. I couldn't have just done classics or English and felt like, wow, I got the full breadth and extent of my degree. I felt like I had to get a bachelor's in science to prove that I have a functional degree that is helpful for me going forward that I can fall back on. And that is entirely because I went to a private school versus a public institution.
Got it.
Bridge, how do you feel? I know, again, I understand that, we're paying for it, but still, how do you feel about the cost of education?
I don't know. I don't really think about it often. As simple as that. I just don't.
Plus, it's very early for you. It's only been one semester.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just an anxious person also, so we can just
I don't think
put that out.
I just think for my goals and what I'm trying to continuously do, and I very set goals for each step along the way. If I worry about the cost right now, it's just not worth it. I guess I just tell myself that eventually it'll pay for itself. So it's a worthwhile investment.
Shalab, can we speak to the stresses of paying for college and getting into college? Were you stressed out during the process for Zoya and Bridge?
For the two of them, yes, because I thought that I'm sure going to be the case for Veer as well. I mean, I really wanted them to go to the top few college name. It was brands were important to me. I thought that college sets you up in a way, a good college degree sets you up in 20 years of time. People may not care about exactly what they learned or not, but the college name stays in your resume forever. So yes, absolutely. I was very stressed out. I wanted to make sure they got into great colleges and that they took it seriously enough. They worked hard for it. So yes, and then the college cost as well. Very stressed out for it because it's a lot of money, and we had saved some of it, but not all of it. Our life circumstances had changed along the way, making it very stressful.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was very stressed out.
But Mom, one thing about you, Dad was definitely always putting pressure on us. Like, big names matter. I remember when I was young, like, he would talk about the schools. The only reason I even knew what Stanford was when I was in 6th grade was because Dad would talk about it. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. You never cared. And you continue to not care. It was never that you were stressed about us getting in. It felt like you were stressed about our own emotional states toward ourselves on the basis of what was happening and what wasn't happening. So why was that the case?
Because to me, the victory is in raising kids who are conscientious and hardworking and have grit. Any college that didn't take you guys was a stupid college in my eyes and not worthy of my stress. Because you're good kids, you like to work hard. You're 3 kids who were born and raised in relative to extreme affluence, I would say, in New York. Relative
do you think
affluence
every
for
parent
sure.
thinks that way?
I don't know what other parents think, but I was very confident that if the college doesn't want these kids, the colleges don't know what they're doing, and I stand by that. Like, I feel bad for the parents who feel like they have to clear the weeds for their kids because they're not giving their kids a moment and an opportunity to shine. I figured even if you guys went to community college and some no name college, any college, you will learn and you will use your life skills that you've spent your life building. I mean, Bridge, all said and done, in this own episode, we learned that he gave up basketball that he thought was very fun. He excelled in track. He was actually track team captain by the end of it because he not only embraced it, he learned it, he committed to it, and he ended on a leadership note. Do you know how hard it is to actually delay your gratification? These are correlations to how much you succeed in life. Life is not about which college you graduated from. It's about how many hard things you can do, how well you can regulate your emotions, and how much you can tolerate and push forward just because you have a personal goal. And you guys were already showing signs of it. So I didn't care. I was like, if these colleges don't want to take you, they can go take a walk as far as I'm concerned. These colleges have been top colleges for hundreds of years with millions and billions in endowments, and look at the world they've created. If they knew what they were doing, the world should be in better shape right now. Instead, the whole world has exploded. There's a war happening here. All these wars are being run by graduates of these colleges. Give me a freaking break about how amazing they are.
But like that's a leadership position too, to run a war. And in other
Oh,
words, like
okay. Oh,
like leadership comes up in all different kinds of ways. Where
He's
will
not
the
wrong.
where will the
He is
talented
right.
people to run wars or drugs? All these are
Oh.
positions. I mean, I'm not saying they are right professions to pursue, but
I want to know who takes responsibility. Harvard has been graduating presidents and leaders for like 100 years at least. Who is taking responsibility for all their leaders who have led to the multi-trillion-dollar national debt that we have right now? Why is it
how,
always the politicians? All these colleges were supposed to teach these people how to do it right.
I mean, and what is the big deal with the multi-trillion-dollar debt? Everybody's living really well. Are we? We are the richest country in the world. We're the
See,
most powerful
okay,
country in the
this
world.
is a whole another episode. We're not even going to go down because my husband and I, we do not agree. As you can see, we do not agree, and we reached a compromise for our own kids. We reached a compromise. I said I will support our kids and try to put together the best application for one college for each kid. We applied in earnest to one college and gave it our all. If they get in with a persuasive package that we can make, honestly, great. If not, honest to God, I would have been just as fine. I really was excited with the idea that maybe one of my kids will go to Ohio State, because I thought Ohio State is a fabulous college. It has no airs about it. These kids are hardworking. They do everything, and there's no drama about it. Like, they were so kind to us in during the college tour. And to be very honest with you, as I hire people growing in my team, when I see an Ivy League name on the resume, that's a pretty much immediate no for me.
The exact opposite for me. As soon as I only interview people who at least have an Ivy League degree, if not a master's on top.
Ridiculous.
Not me. I heavily favor public universities. I heavily favor kids who have real life experience. I do not, you know what the world does not need another one of? Big picture thinkers. If I meet one more person who's launching a tech startup without actually understanding the technology, if I meet one more person who has raised a series A based on their idea and who's actually not run a single business in real life, like, please, whoever those people are, stay far away from me and my business. Just buy tickets to my show.
Okay, well, with that in mind,
Yes, but this is a hot take, and of course, the hot takes are endless. We want to hear everything that you are thinking, you are going through in your life about colleges, college admissions, the things, stresses that you're dealing with, activities that you're doing, new activities that you're doing. Put them in comments so we can all learn from each other. My kids just talked about all the things they're doing. And as we end every episode with a round of good grades with Gargs, so too, we will end this round with each Garg assigning another Garg with an A grade. And we want to hear from you guys who gets the A grade in this episode from you and why. So who wants to get good
I'm
grades
going
with
first.
Garg started? Okay, Veer, go.
I'm giving you the A. And
Oh.
the reason I'm giving you the A is that I think we have similar stances on the fact that colleges are dumb.
Yes. Thank you. We
Why
agree.
do you say that, Veer? What makes you say that? You don't even know
Because
enough to-
I know people that, like, even through mom's business, I know people that are just not going to top name colleges like Cornell or Stanford, and they're hard workers and they know what to do. We know somebody that's making big money in their sophomore year of college or whatever, Didi's friend, and she doesn't go to one of the big top name colleges, and she's such a hard worker, and she's good at what she does.
Yep. I accept that. That was good. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'm gonna give my A grade to Dad because I can't remember exactly what he said, but in the beginning of this episode, I just remember he said something very insightful. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember thinking, "Wow, that was really insightful."
Okay.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm
Alright.
going to give my A grade to Bridge because Bridge, I think oftentimes with college, people always think of like me as the example, and not me as the example, as in the kid that was so anxious every single day since freshman year, who just did everything starting from freshman year. Bridge had a very unique journey where like he didn't really care that much about high school. Would you say that's true for the first year and a half? Maybe first year and a half, it wasn't that serious to him. He would get like okay grades, whatever. But then turned that ship around sophomore year due to a variety of circumstances, got involved with school, joined Model UN later into the high school experience. And I think a lot of people lose faith in their ability to really make their high school experience worth it because they're too many years into it. If you're a junior, if you're a sophomore, if you're a senior even, it's never too late. Like start doing things today, right? It's not that late. And I think Bridge defined that.
Yes, I agree with that. Shalab?
I guess I will give my A grade to Bridge as well, because I think that he, people think that Zoya worked hard to get into college, but I know that this boy really put himself out there.
Well, she did too. Don't do her like that. She did work very hard, but they both
did work very hard. You're right, he did. But it's well advertised too. Bridge is more understated. He talks less about it, and it was really hard. And I remember when he got in, he was so elated. We were sitting next to the kitchen counter, looking at those, acceptance emails, and I will give this to Bridge.
Great. And I will shockingly give this A grade to Shalab, my husband.
Oh my God, why?
I'm very shocked myself, but I have to do the right thing here for the podcast because I have been the voice against brand names since the very beginning. But even I cannot deny that the brand names matter. And because Shalab has been steadfast in reminding everybody not to take this lightly, we were able to reach a balance that worked for our family in the application process. It would have been very easy otherwise for somebody to be like, all right, she doesn't care, I don't care. And we would have walked away from what otherwise could have been like a different outcome for us. And I really give credit for that to Shalab because he is the first one in our family to do it. I mean, he got into IIT during a time when it was impossible to get it. There were like, 6 IITs when you got in?
Yeah, but at the same time, there was a different process. I think that getting into these Ivy Leagues here is a lot harder because...
No, but you saw the benefit of the brand.
That's
so
true.
You understood the importance of it, is what I'm speaking to. So shockingly, when I give you an A grade, it's very reluctantly. I'm just saying that. I'm not happy about it. I'm just trying to do the right thing.
Are you using the L word and I don't know that you are?
No, let's not push it. Let's not push it. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. We want to hear what you're thinking. We want to hear what you're doing. And I personally am very curious about your hot takes on college admission, the investment, all of it. Are you hiring Ivy League graduates? Tell us right now. We want to know, am I the only one with this bias against it? This has been such a fun episode. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.